The celebrated Manhattan cocktail was inaugurated at the Manhattan Club. Hi friends of cocktails and history. Today we're taking a look at how different a modern Manhattan is to the ones made nearly 140 years ago. We'll make 3 different versions of this classic whiskey, sweet vermouth and bitters cocktail, using recipes from 1884, 1887 and the well-known modern ratio. It was obviously pretty popular by the end of the 19th century, but it's unclear who and when exactly created the Manhattan cocktail. There are many possible stories floating around its creation, including the popular Manhattan Club being the birthplace of this iconic drink. All of that is highlighted by the cocktail historian David Wondrich in his excellent book Imbibe. Besides the history of the cocktail, he also offers 3 different recipes and the school of thought behind them. We'll make 2 of them. I highly recommend this book. Now, who's ready for some Manhattans? It's cocktail time. Before we get to today's cocktails, I'm thrilled to announce a couple of partnerships for Cocktail Time channel. One of which is perfectly timed. That's because you'll need a couple of different bottles for these recipes, and Curiada can help you out with that. If you're based in the continental US, you'll be able to find my collection on their site with all the bottles I'm using on this channel. Click the link in the description to let them know Kevin sent you. Now, let's make the cocktail. This time I'll start with the modern version. Most of you know it. It's almost as simple as it gets. Let's make the Manhattan. The now standard 2:1:2 ratio of 2 ounces whiskey, 1 ounce sweet vermouth and 2 dashes of Angostura bitters not only makes a delicious but also an easy to remember cocktail. And while rye is usually the preferred option nowadays, majority of the pre-prohibition recipes just called for whiskey. Only a few specifically called for rye. Some even went with bourbon. During Prohibition, Canadian whiskey was a popular option. I think the Four Roses Single Barrel Bourbon brings the perfect combination of the smooth and sweet corn with enough spice from the high rye mash bill. High ABV also makes a difference, whether you go with rye or bourbon. As for the sweet vermouth, find a pairing that fits your choice of whiskey. I'm using 𝗖𝗄𝗎 Vermouth di Torino, which has a rich, intense, well-rounded flavor that will pair nicely with the single barrel bourbon, bringing out flavors of caramel, orange and stone fruits. Angostura bitters add a bit of extra spice and complexity and bring the other 2 ingredients together to create an internal classic. Add 2 dashes if you're using a classic bottle, or 4 dashes from a more precise bitters dasher bottle. Then fill your mixing glass with ice and stir to chill and dilute for about 30 seconds. And all that chilling will do you no good if your glassware isn't chilled. So make sure you place it in the freezer or you fill it with ice as you're making the cocktail. That will keep your strained Manhattan nice and cold for longer. For the final touch, the classic Manhattan garnish, a maraschino cherry. As we usually do for this old versus new episode, I'll first make all 3 versions, then taste them together. So let's get right into making the 1884 Manhattan, as written by George Winter in his How to Mix Drinks, the Barkeeper's Handbook, using equal parts of whiskey and vermouth, and a bit of gum syrup added as well, since it's based on the original whiskey cocktail, or the old-fashioned. I made gum syrup in the syrups episode last year. The addition of gum arabic gives it a nice silky mouthfeel. If you don't want to make your own, I just received a few bottles of Liber and Co syrups, including this Demerara gum syrup. It has a nice burnt sugar taste to it, with a rich silky mouthfeel. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to grab a bottle. Thanks Liber and Co. Now, back to the cocktail. The recipe calls for a bar glass to be filled 3/4 full of ice. Then to add 2 or 3 dashes of Peruvian bitters, which were advertised in the book. Wondrich suggests trying it with orange bitters, as written in the recipe of the official history of the Manhattan Club, so that's what I'm using. 1 to 2 dashes of gum syrup equals about half a teaspoon, which is what I'm using, since this is 2 whiskeys to dash. Here, Rittenhouse 100 proof is the best way to go. The strong spice and high ABV is needed to stand up the equal amount of vermouth we'll add. The 1/2 wine glass measurement is a bit confusing, but Wondrich notes that it represents 45 ml or 1.5 ounce. I guess we don't need a spoon for this part yet. And for vermouth, I'm using the one based on the original 1786 recipe, Carpano Antica Formula, equal measure as whiskey. Then stir to mix, chill and dilute. All we're left with is to strain it into a fancy cocktail glass. The earliest recipes didn't call for a garnish, no cherry or a lemon twist, so we'll serve the old standard Manhattan like this. I'll set this aside as well, and make the final Manhattan of the day, a reverse Manhattan. From the 1887 Bartender's Guide by Jerry Thomas. He calls for 2 parts vermouth to 1 part whiskey, with Bogart's bitters and 2 dashes of Curaçao or maraschino. I chose maraschino for a bit of nutty floral sweetness, over orange notes from the Curaçao, 4 small dashes or half a teaspoon. For whiskey and vermouth, I'm again using the combination of Rittenhouse 100 proof and Carpano Antica formula, 1 pony glass of whiskey, and 1 wine glass of vermouth. A pony glass is 30 ml or 1 ounce, and a wine glass is 60 ml or 2 ounces. Lastly, 3 dashes of Bogart's bitters. I'm using Bogart's. Jerry Thomas wouldn't mind, and since this isn't a dasher bottle, I'll add half a bar spoon. Wondery suggests stirring this cocktail, like you typically would, but to keep in line with the instructions from the Bartender's Guide, I'll add 2 small lumps of ice and shake this Manhattan. This vermouth-heavy recipe is believed to have been developed from a vermouth cocktail, to which a bit of spirit was added, to give it a little something extra. Strain into a claret goblet, and follow the recipe with the final touch. A quarter of a slice of lemon in the glass, and serve. So how do they all stack up against what you can hopefully get in any cocktail bar around the world today? Let's find out. I'll start with the modern, and use that as a benchmark I'm familiar with. Full-bodied whiskey is the main player here, complemented by the sweet notes of the vermouth. 4 Roses Single Barrel and 𝗧𝗍𝗄 is a great pairing. Smooth and just sweet enough, with the aftertaste of gentle spice from the high rye content and the bitters. We'll see how others compare. Aroma of vanilla lets you know the whiskey won't be as present. It's a bit too sweet, but not as sweet as I'd expect from the recipe. 100 proof rye is strong enough to bring extra spice and tone down the sweetness. It has a long finish of vanilla, orange, and subtle spice. Interesting. The reverse Manhattan's amount of vermouth is present on the aroma, with a bit of fruity, floral notes from the maraschino. As expected, it's the sweetest of the 3, and even the bold rye whiskey is a bit lost, providing just a small leg up in terms of stiffness and spiciness. But I guess that was the point of this recipe. So I know which one's my favorite. But like always, don't just take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Cheers, friends of cocktails. I'll see you next week. Tam res ne bo všeč. Baba? Samo tega meni